verify that it's running.
All right. I'm going to call this public hearing to order. This is a public hearing being conducted by the Holiday Island City Planning Commission, February 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start out with the roll call.
Commissioner Elwood?
Here.
Commissioner Graves?
Here.
Commissioner Kuhn?
Here.
Commissioner Mills?
Here.
Commissioner Pittman?
Here.
Commissioner Dew is here. All present.
All right, I declare a quorum. Welcome to all of the public attendees here tonight. I'm going to go over a couple of things here before we get into the hearing. This is kind of the rules of the road here. This is the first time I've ever conducted a public hearing, so we'll see how smooth this goes. But I have my expert next to me here on the right. Arkansas statutes require that planning commissions hear public comments on a public hearing or at a public hearing before planning and zoning regulations can be recommended to the city council for adoption. This public hearing is for one purpose: to hear comments regarding only the following proposed regulations and documents being considered by the City Planning Commission for recommendation to the City Council or the municipality of Holiday Island, Arkansas. Proposed amendments are to Section 2.02, Definitions, Terms, and Uses, Section 7.01, Residential Zoning Districts, General Description, Section 7.02, Residential District Uses, Section 14.01, General Description, Section 15.0, Non-Residential Accessory Uses, Section 16.4, Detached Accessory Units, Section 16.6, Outdoor Storage, Section 21.01, Off-Street Parking and Loading, and Section 28.04, Amendments. I have copies of all of the things marked up of what we're gonna, of all of these things that I just listed here, if anybody wants a copy, but I would advise right now that it's like how many pages long? Too many pages to be able to read in this public hearing and be prepared to participate. So if you haven't pulled them off the meeting notice on the website beforehand, it'll be difficult to comment on it. How the public hearing will be conducted. Public hearings must be conducted in a fair, orderly manner so as to allow citizen opinion to be expressed directly to the Planning Commission that is making zoning policy decisions. Individuals wishing to speak shall approach the podium, state their full name and address, and make their comments. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make their comments. If multiple individuals have made similar comments on the same item, then the chairman may limit the familiar, similar repeating comments. Individuals who submit documents at the hearing shall identify each document. Each document submitted shall be made a part of the official record of the hearing. Documents submitted prior to the public hearing will be provided to the commissioners and be made part of the official record of the hearing. Reading documents into the record are subject to the 3-minute timeline. After all comments have been made, the chairman will close the hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, further public comment on this topic will not be entertained. If a planning commission meeting follows immediately after closing the public hearing to deliberate on the hearing comments and to consider further action on this topic, no public comments will be accepted on this topic during that meeting. Commissioners may discuss an item and ask questions of the presenters from the public hearing. So we're not here to educate or debate, or not necessarily even to answer questions. We can if we think it would be appropriate, but basically the hearing process is the public's opportunity to tell us what you think. So with that said, I guess we'll move into public comments. Any public comments? Hearing none, this may be the shortest public hearing on record. Alex?
Alex Thoros,
Thank you.
Alex Thorosi, 158 Holiday Island Drive. I reviewed this before I came here and the topics that you're discussing, and I'm glad to see that you're giving consideration for some things that weren't allowed before, like whether vehicles can be parked in a certain condition on property. You know, it sounded like before that anything like that was going to be a violation of the covenants or the laws, and they have to be moved away. And I think that's a good concession to make, because a lot of people obviously in this community are well off. They have boats, they have motorhomes, they have campers and all sorts of things. And since they have a good chunk of property in most cases, as long as they keep them in a proper manner, as you mentioned in the document there, that's only fair. They should be penalized because they have few more possessions than somebody else, as long as they're appropriate. So
Okay.
I'm glad to see that.
Thank you. Any other public comments? If not, I guess I will close the public comments and move to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll take Linda.
You
We have, Ken made a motion to adjourn, Linda seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. The public hearing is adjourned. Now we will move into our regular planning commission meeting. And we'll let you have it. We'll let you know when you can get up and okay. Are we ready to call this meeting to order? Everything still recording?
Yes.
Okay. I will now call the meeting to order of the Holiday Island City Planning Commission. This is our regular monthly meeting. I have the wrong agenda here. I got the agenda from the last meeting.
Here you go.
I should have that in there. No, I'll work off this one. All right, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Again? You can't pledge enough. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we'll call the roll again.
Commissioner Elwood,
I'm still here.
Commissioner Graves,
Here.
Commissioner Kuhn,
Here.
Commissioner Mills,
Here.
Commissioner Pittman,
Here.
Commissioner Doom is here, all present.
All right, I declare a quorum. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move we approve the agenda for the planning commission meeting.
Second.
Linda made a motion to approve the agenda. Ken seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have minutes from the January 10th meeting to approve. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Jerry made a motion to approve the minutes of the January 10, 2023 meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Linda seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. We have no reports to make at this meeting. We have no old business. Under new business, deliberation on the public hearing comments on proposed amendments to the planning and zoning regulations for Holiday Island. I think I'm just going to do the smart thing here and turn the agenda over to Lynn at this point, because he's really the expert.
Well, as far as deliberations, we heard one positive comment from Mr. Throsi in support of part of what we've done and no objections. So I don't have anything to offer other than, unless commissioners have something to say that they've read in the documents that need to be fixed.
I do not.
I do,
Okay.
let me find it again. I believe it's page 8, attachment H. Paragraph, section 2101, paragraph B2. The last word in the paragraph should be council spelled differently than what you have it.
Okay. Attachment H. This word, wow.
You spelled that.
Scroll level.
There it is. At the top.
This word needs to say council.
Yes. CIL.
Okay, this is a PDF, I can't edit it, but I'll make my notes here. Okay, any other revisions anybody noticed?
Okay, then we can move on to resolution HICPC R23-002. I did not print off a copy of that resolution.
I have it. If you'd like to follow along.
Now, you can just go ahead and read it.
All right,
Does everybody have a copy of the resolution? Yes.
let me move this up on the screen. I'll read it from the screen.
We have to make a motion to.
Yes, good point. Good thing we have the Robert's Rules of Order guy here. I will entertain a motion to approve resolution
R23-2.
here, HICPC R23-002.
I make a motion to approve resolution HICPC R23-002.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Ken made the motion and Barb Kuhn seconded it. Now we'll read the resolution.
Resolution HICPC R23-2, resolution amending the planning and zoning regulations for certain definitions, residential district uses, accessory uses, outdoor storage and off-street parking and loading for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas. Whereas the Holiday Island City Planning Commission, HICPC, has determined it necessary to revise the planning and zoning regulations for the entire area of Holiday Island to provide districts of compatible uses for unified development, for the elimination of nonconformance, and for the matters of general welfare of the city. And whereas the HICPC has deliberated on these proposed amendments to the planning and zoning regulations during numerous public meetings since October 11, 22. And whereas the HICPC, having now developed amendments to the planning and zoning regulations to adopt and recommend, has provided the required notification pursuant to ACA 1456-422-1C by letter to the Eureka Springs School Board on January 23rd, 23, and pursuant to ACA 1456-422-1B by publishing a public hearing notice in the Carroll County News January 24, 2023 edition. And whereas pursuant to ACA 1456-422-1A, the HICPC has conducted a public hearing on the matter and adopting and recommending amendments to the planning and zoning regulations on February 14, 2023 to hear public comments. And whereas the HICPC now finds it to be in the best interest of the citizens of Holiday Island to recommend to the City Council amendments to the text of the planning and zoning regulations to provide for the clarification of terms, uses, and procedures of planning and zoning for Holiday Island. Now be it resolved by the Holiday Island City Planning Commission, Section 1, pursuant to ACA 1456-422-C2, the HICPC adopts amendments to the planning and zoning regulations for the City of Holiday Island as detailed in the following attachments. Attachment A, Section 2.02, definitions of terms and uses. Attachment B, is section 7.01, residential zoning districts, general description. Attachment C, section 7.02, residential district uses. Attachment D is section 14.01, general description. Attachment E, section 15.0, non-residential accessory uses. Attachment F, 16.40, detached accessory units. Attachment G, section 16.60, outdoor storage. Attachment H, section 21.01, off-street parking and loading. Attachment I, section 28.04, amendments. And attachment J, the planning and zoning regulations with the above amendments incorporated. Section 2, pursuant to ACA 1456 422C3, the HICPC certifies that the attached amendments to the planning and zoning regulations should be adopted by the City Council of Holiday Island in a timely manner. Pass and approve this date.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Now, these contains all the changes that we made in the last 2 or 3 meetings, right?
These are all the changes we just went through in the public hearing.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've been working on these for a couple months now.
And is it true that in a subsequent council meeting, we will probably consider an ordinance amending the previous ordinance?
That's the next step
Okay.
for Lynn to draft the ordinance.
Always another step.
I'm working on it.
It's just a different cover page for the exact same documentation, basically. All right, any other discussion? We'll move to a roll call vote.
Commissioner Elwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Graves,
Aye.
Commissioner Kuhn,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Pittman,
Aye.
Commissioner Dumas, aye. All approved.
Okay, it's unanimous. Just on a technicality, am I supposed to be voting on that?
I'm sorry. Chairman Keys,
Aye.
all right. All approved. You're right.
Very unanimous. Okay, and we will prepare an ordinance to make those modifications to the zoning ordinance. All right, moving on then. Dustin, you're up. Is it Dustin or Justin?
It's Justin.
Justin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always
Just-
just materials.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Well, I went to the
But,
website and I found that,
Dustin's on the agenda, so.
I found the paper that I needed to fill out and bring in.
Well, just, let's start out, in the beginning here.
That gives you the lot number there.
Let me, why don't you go to the podium and give us your name and address?
Justin Frame, and we don't have an address on the property yet. I don't think it's been assigned an address.
It probably has been, but I don't have it at my fingertips.
Yeah,
but-
I don't either.
It's listed here as 181 State Line.
181, okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
And
Basically, just to set the stage for everybody, Justin recently purchased that property. It's zoned, I believe, C2 commercial. Right now, he has a idea of something that he wants to do on that property, but it would require a slight change to the zoning. And so he's here to pitch his idea and then ask what the process is, be informed as to the process that we'll have to go through to make that zoning change.
Yeah, may I add? And to be clear, this is not it's not a hearing on your issue. This is just the orientation for us, I guess.
Now,
Would that not at first should go to the board of adjustment or?
well,
Boson.
we already know that the Board of Zoning Adjustment cannot change the zoning on a particular piece of property. And we already know that what he wants to do doesn't fit the definition of C2. So,
So in the future, any proposed zoning change will come before the planning commission.
Right.
yeah. Okay,
so I want to put up a metal building and put a shop in there where I can work on boats, cars, vehicles. But according to the bylaws, that would be a C4
Right,
once you get into the service industry.
okay. Have you done that kind of work before? Is that your background?
Yeah, I do construction and mechanic stuff. So.
Okay. So anybody have any questions, or do we just need to move to defining the process? Because this is all fairly new to us too, as far
I
as
get that, yeah.
the process you have to go through to do something right, or the right way.
Is C4 defined in our?
It is.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
it's in our regulations.
Okay.
What, in the property now is R1?
It's C2.
C2.
Yeah, C2 is more retail
Way down there.
and
That's out there by those.
kind of like the stuff that's up in the park up there.
Oh, okay.
And then there's
Nothing
trails.
that's down there right now fits that C2 classification, so.
You're gonna erect a metal, approximately what, like a pole barn type of?
It's a red iron building.
There?
Yeah, red iron goes on concrete.
Of what kind?
Red iron. So
What's
it's a commercial grade steel building.
Okay.
It's not built out of wood timbers, built out of iron.
That's down close to where Doug's.
It's right
barn is.
Right.
Yeah, it's on the other end of that same block, I
It'll be
believe.
about the same size as his, is that what? You know what property, you know what we're talking about?
You're talking about the storage units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Just beyond the
no,
storage.
just
units,
beyond
the-
that,
The
there's-
further one, yeah.
The blue, big
The
blue
blue.
building.
The big blue, okay, yeah, it's about like, yeah, about like that. The lot size is bigger though. I want to say the lot is closer to, it's a little over half acre maybe?
Your lot size?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's bigger. I mean, it comes up in the picture here. Maybe not, but just a little bigger anyway.
Okay, you filled out the application, which is good. And,
Then we'll have to go through the checklist, page 2 of all the items that are required, make sure that's complete. Sure.
now, for all of our benefit, Lynn, talk us through the process.
Well, it's up on the screen.
Okay.
The rezoning application, review and approval process. So you complete the application, and it's, along with the fee is given to the secretary, that'd be me, prior to the deadline of the second Tuesday noon in the month prior to the next meeting. So it's the second Tuesday prior to, we're past that deadline? Yeah, because this is the second Tuesday of the month. So this process is going to get underway before, the deadline would be next Tuesday, the second Tuesday of next month. And then we're going to review that application by 4 p.m. that same Tuesday to make sure that all the things are there. So when we talk about review, we're going to go through this checklist and make sure that all the items that are required are provided. And then enough information, I guess, to satisfy the building inspector and those kinds of folks. Once the application is proper and complete, the planning commission submits a public hearing notice to the newspaper for the second Wednesday noon in the month prior to the meeting. So we need to make a publication to let everybody know that we're going to have a public hearing. We prepare a report, which is taking your documents and what other information we can add to get to the commission. Then the applicant notifies all property owners within 200 feet of the boundary of the property requesting the variance. So you've got to notify all them by certified letter, I think is what the instructions say. If you're looking up on the screen, there's a section of our code, 2804, that talks about this. And it gives all the details you need to know that are in there. This is just a thumbnail sketch of the process, okay? And by the way, that's the third page of this application, so if you're looking for that, you'll find it there. That document then, the application, or the applicant will post signs on the properties, on the corners of this property that's subject to this rezoning. And from the information that you fill out, I'll complete that sign and hand you 2 copies of it for you to stick in the ground. And you'll present that signed affidavit to us that those nearby property owners have been notified. And that's probably a document that says, you know, I did what I was supposed to do, and here's the proof. Maybe it's the receipts of the nearby property owners. From there, then the planning commission will have a public hearing that we're gonna have on the second Tuesday of the month, so that's why all this delay. We gotta have the posting and have the time for the meeting. Then we're going to, during that public hearing, we'll approve the rezoning or we'll table it. Those are options that could happen. And from here, the branches on this past are changing. So if it's rezoned, if it's approved, then it goes down this loop. If it's tabled, it goes to this loop and comes on down through the appeals process. So these are decision boxes. If it's yes, it's this way. If it's no or that way, you have to kind of follow the path from here. It gets cloudy and variable depending on what the outcomes are of the different meetings. But the simple path, if it's approved, goes to a resolution certifying that change to the city council. Then the city council has to meet to approve the rezoning. So it's not something just the planning commission can do, it's a city council approval process. And they can approve it or deny it, depending on where it goes from there.
So it's a long and lengthy process. And let me say, in our defense, this isn't our process. This process is defined basically by Arkansas law. All of these notifications so many days ahead, and unfortunately, they don't have this short process for simple changes and this lengthy process for major changes. So if somebody wanted to come in here, Walmart wanted to come in and build a super center, and it required a zoning change, it would take the exact same process as what it takes to simply change one lot from C2 to C4. That's just the way the law is written. So
we'll give it a test drive.
yeah. I know that you said that you kind of wanted an answer because you wanted to order the building, and we certainly can't advise that, that would be something safe to do. I mean, we have no idea what the outcome of the hearing is going to be.
Right.
So we can't make any assumptions.
If the storage buildings were gonna be built now, and Doug's, whatever that is.
His property.
His property, would they be allowed under the existing zone?
His property is zoned R1. So the answer would be no.
Doug's
Or
property is?
Or R2, excuse me, yeah, it's zoned R2.
Is it really?
It is, and
It's a
court,
non-conforming use then.
there's living quarters inside there, and the county has it zoned as residential as well.
You're not planning on residential apartment?
No, sir.
So what kind of manufacturing are you planning?
It's not manufacturing, it's just repairs and sales of boats.
Oh, boat repair type stuff?
Yes, ma'am.
Indoor,
Mhm.
in the building?
Mhm.
Which use do you think that would fall under the uses?
C4, I
I
think is the
mean,
closest.
under the
Oh,
uses.
the
type.
vehicle repair is the closest we have, it doesn't say boat.
Vehicle,
And that's
okay.
a conditional.
Well, let's see. Yeah, both general and limited are conditional.
And I guess that's part of the process as well, Dan. Just rezoning it doesn't make it done deal, because we have it zoned as a commercial, vehicle repairs as a conditional use. There has to be a public hearing on the conditional use of that property.
We can do it at the same time though, can't we? One hearing?
Bet you could.
Probably,
I'm sure we could.
yeah, we just have to
use a
make the
business
proper,
like you're planning out here.
make the proper notification of what we're gonna be discussing, yes. Yeah, a rezoning and approving a conditional use application. So there'd be another document you need to fill out as well.
Is it on the same website?
Yes,
Okay, I can track it down.
it's a conditional use permit form.
Got it.
And, unless you have a much, much better memory than I have, if you're kind of swimming in information right now or drowning in information, let me know, and Lynn and I can sit down in a much smaller informal setting and go through the checklist and get you everything you need.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think I've got a handle on it. It's pretty much all listed right here and what I need to do.
I do know that for rezoning, we're going to need the legal description, the what we call it, mets and bounds. You know, that you gotta start at some point, go so many feet this direction and whatever. So we'll need that legal description. Our attorney is the one who drafts the public notice for cases for rezoning. So he'll need that for that newspaper printing.
You need something more than just the unit block and lot?
Yeah, needs the mets and bounds, the legal description of the property.
Don't they usually put that in a survey? Or if
Usually,
they can, yeah.
usually.
So,
Yeah, if you got a survey, it's there.
okay.
Every example that I've read in the newspaper of rezoning has the mets and bounds defined.
Okay. So is there anything more you need from us at this time?
I don't think so.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, thank you. All right, moving on then. Any public comments?
Alex Dorsey, 158 Holiday Island Drive. It's not a comment, it's a question about procedures here. When it was just the SID that we were dealing with, not the city, remember a few years ago, the people that owned the real skinny commercial lots just up the street from here wanted to consolidate those so they could have just one property?
Yeah.
Is this the same thing? Is rezoning, that would be considered a rezoning?
Yeah, well, that's replotting, and we don't, you know, how to replot something is still a mystery. The city has no authority to replot.
That's what I
If
asked.
somebody comes to us and wants to replot something, we can probably thumbs up and or thumbs down.
Mhm.
But, you know, the same restrictions that applied before. You know, HICPC's hands are tied, but because of the bond issue,
Right.
they can't diminish their opportunity for assessments. And, other than that, if it wasn't for that problem, then somebody could probably buy up all those little narrow lots, get them all under one ownership, and then come to the planning commission and say, I want to replot this into one lot.
Mhm.
And as long as the district doesn't object and the county tax collector doesn't object and we don't object, I guess it could be replotted.
I see.
To answer your question directly though, rezoning is the use. So in this particular case, it's zone C2, which is small shops, like a lawyer shop or a bakery. And he wants to do this boat repair, which is a different classification. So it's a change in the use of the property. So that's what rezoning is.
In commensurate with that, then, do you have similar authority to what you want to do now to change something from commercial to residential or residential to commercial? Can you switch the category?
Through a public hearing.
Through a public hearing.
It can be done, okay, that was the other question I had. All right, very good. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
I think that's, never mind. I don't want to get into
All right, any other public comments? If not, scheduling, our next meeting is next month, second Tuesday.
Yes.
Oh.
Second Tuesday of March.
You skipped commissioner comments.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Okay, commissioner comments?
This is probably more the city council type thing, but I'd like to tell you what I did.
About what?
Do we wanna know?
Wait a minute.
Last week.
I'd advise you have your lawyer present.
Last week, when the cardboard thing got overblown and stuff was all over, I called April over at Carroll County Solid Waste and told her the problem and told her that that the program has been successful and it's over successful because it fills up in 2 or 3 days, and then they start throwing in odors. Go down there and look at it today. I did not hear back from, April, so I called, George Boatwright, and he said, yes, she had talked to him, but evidently she didn't get back to me. But anyway, George is going to change the, he said, you know, and again, you know, the public has got a responsibility here to use these units strictly for cardboard and not, you know, not garbage. Because he said if he finds garbage in there, they're gonna charge the city for taking care of it. But he's going to start emptying them on Mondays and Fridays, and in the meantime, he's building another cardboard receptacle, and it'll be done in a couple of weeks or so, and be down there, so because that, you know, like I say, it's a service to the community, and anyway, and they are willing to work with us, and they said, you know, that hasn't seen any evidence of, you know, trash in that, but the trash ends up in our box that the city's using for the part-time people, the bag service. And, you know, if they don't quit it, they're gonna ruin that service. Anyway.
Well, we knew that from the beginning, and,
It's,
need some kind of
anyway,
security cameras down
there is, George is working on a solution. And,
Yeah, the cardboard is the bigger of the two problems yet.
well, there's a pile of cardboard down there, about a half a box load of it. And but if he starts emptying it twice a week, that should take care of it.
Okay, any other commissioner comments relative to planning commission activities? Thanks, Ken. And I talked to George about that myself today, and so we'll get something done. If there are no other commissioner comments, regular scheduling meeting or the meeting schedule for the next regular meeting, I know I can say that, is
It'll be March 14th.
March 14th. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Jerry made a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Linda seconded it, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Turn anything on.